Welcome back to Shasta College Humanities 2. This started week 3. My apologies for the Zoom meeting. Evidently the ID they sent me that I sent you did not work. So here we are again. One day I will meet you all on Zoom. Next time, I'll try to do it differently. We'll see if it works. Maybe later on this week I'll try it. Anyway, be that as it may, we are still in the game. It's hot, hot, hot here in the North State. I finally got my air conditioning running over there, my swamp cooler, so it's nicer. So today I want to get you up to date on things, what's going on. I'm getting a lot of texts and emails about the essays, what I'm looking for in the essays. I made an announcement a couple of days ago. It's very detailed what I'm looking for in the essays that I'm asking you to do. But mostly what I'm asking you to do is go deeper than just a thumbnail research bio on a topic that you could pick up online by just doing 5 minutes of research. And I'm not saying anybody's copying and pasting. Don't do that, please. That's dishonest. Put your own thoughts, words, and analysis on it. That's what I'm looking for. Some original thought that only you have. No one else has it. So we've done 2 essays so far. I graded the one, if I can remember what it was now. Oh, yeah, Luther. I like, there's some good essays, and then I had amendments on what I'm looking for, and I kind of went easy on the grading because we're all new to this, and you don't see what I'm expecting, but hopefully you'll get better at it. And this week, and then had a second essay about African American playwrights and the history of some African American theater in this world that we live in these Black Lives Matter times, which is really key and important to understand and to put it in a context and to thread that through your essays would be most excellent. I try to make this class current. And so if something's going on in the world out there outside our doors, it shouldn't be ignored by just studying old, dusty history. And so right now, that's what that whole thing last week was about. The pandemic is still going on. If you notice that Martin Luther was raised during the plague times, that's why I chose that. He was dealing with a very similar thing than what we're dealing with, and there was no cure then either. So I wanted to put his ancient history into current history. That's what I did last week by having African American playwrights trying to make it contemporary. Because normally I'll keep it historical perspective, but now history's changing on us every moment. And so I'm going to be looking at, we're going to be, hopefully I'm going to be looking at painters now, and there's not a lot going on in the art world because of the pandemic. Museums are closed for the most part. Some are opening. Have you ever been to a museum? 5 shots of espresso, boys and girls. It's still not enough. So, and I know espresso. You think espresso is all about the caffeine. It isn't. It's about the harsh, burnt flavor. That's what I'm after. Okay, because you can get more caffeine out of the light roast. But I leave the light stuff to those people who just can't take the harsh, bitter, dark stuff. And I'm talking about life. Anyway, things are really changing with how are we going to, if you've never been to a museum, hey, there's a local one here down by the swimming pool. Have you ever been to San Francisco, gone to the museums? Does something like that ever occur to you? I've traveled mostly in Europe several times, and I always make it a point to go to as many museums as I can. And I'm a film guy. I'm a rock and roll guy, but I love I love art of all sorts, and I love painters because usually they're tortured. They're tortured artists. And when these people were painting, and this is what I want to talk about this week, historically, they were our filmmakers. We didn't have film or video or a cell phone, a tape, our cat being cute. They had to paint it, and they're painting our stories. They're painting. Painting was the very first cinema. So much of the paintings from ancient times, or these modern times we're living through now, were based on religion paintings because that was the popular in the day. And if you look at some of these incredible paintings, and they're in chapter 23, you'll see them. Hopefully you got the text now. If you don't, you can still pass the course. It's going to be a little rougher because I'm going to give the assigned ratings, and I'll do the best I can to keep you up to par, but you should have the text by now. But anyway, look at chapter 23. It starts in Shakespeare's time, 1550, thereabouts, and it goes up to the 1700s. Lots of things were happening in the art world, and the art was going from religious depictions to more naturalistic life depictions of regular folks. And the people that were spearheading that were revolutionary at the time because they knew they could sell their artwork. And listen, artists have always wanted to make a living, even 500 years ago. Nothing's changed, but it was rough because they didn't have all the outlets or the social media or cute calendars or t-shirts to sell like we do now. And so usually artists, they weren't famous then, but they're famous now. So many of them: Rembrandt, Vermeer, Renoir, Van Gogh, so many more. They had to have patrons. And that's essentially just what, if you have a YouTube channel, you get patrons. They call it patrons, and they actually give money to your account to keep you going. 2% and just a half a pump. This is key. A half a pump of vanilla, just to take the edge off. Not too much. The older you get, the less sweet you like. You like things that are bitter and harsh. Anyway, so they broke away, and they had to have somebody supporting their art because it's either that or manual labor. They got to go work at a shop or become a baker or a blacksmith. So the opportunities weren't great in those days. You just don't go to the college and become, a teacher, professor. That's easy. Anyway, couldn't do that. Not so easy in those days. Now you become an intern with no pay. Boy, that's a weird world we live in. Hey, how about coming work for me for free for 40 hours a week? And you learn on the job. We've always had that. And the 500 years ago, they took on apprentices. Whether it's blacksmith apprentice, you would apprentice with a trade, bakery, a blacksmith, even a medical trade, and you would train with these people for a decade before you could open up your own practice. Think about being a dentist 500 years ago, folks. Think about that, what that entails. And usually the dentists were also the barber because it took about as much training to do both teeth left by the time they died. And guess what, folks? If they lived to 40, that was considered old age. You'd be 35 years old and you're out to pasture already because people were dying like flies the day before we had penicillin and all the modern medicine we have right now, and the plagues. They have plague after plague. Living to 40 was rare. Life was harsh. Anyway, now life seems really harsh to me also. We've got the pandemic, which is pretty harsh in my lifetime. And I lived through Richard Nixon and the Vietnam War. And you've gone through the multiple wars in Afghanistan and all that fun stuff. So it is your history. It's your time now. This is if you're a lot younger than me, which you probably are. And now you have Black Lives Matter that's on the streets and the police. There's some needs to be changed. There's a revolution happening right now. And there's a big adjustment taking place right now. So it's happening. History is happening right in front of us. So when you look back on this, when you're old, you might think these are harsh times, because indeed they are. Especially if you're a person who isn't white and privileged. It's even tougher. So we need to get out there and participate and read as much as you can. I've had students who've actually been proud of the fact that they've never read a book. And I go, well, you just missed out on 99% of what humanity and civilization has to offer. And I'm not talking about just Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings. I'm talking about Don Quixote, Cervantes, and Moby Dick, and all the rest that we're living with to this day. Anyway, I'll be talking about that probably later this week. So today I want to focus on this time and place in our art history. This is all European now. We're not in America yet. America is too new. We don't have artists here yet. We don't have writers here yet. We're essentially living pretty primitively on the very far reaches of the East Coast. We're just civilized. We're just settling in, but we're making quick inroads. But right at this point in time, all the inroads are in Europe. It's old. It's been there for thousands of years. And so there are, look, what I'm looking for in the essays, I want you guys to go deeper on the material. When I assign something like I did last week, African American playwrights, I expect you to go choose one. Go to YouTube. All their plays are there. They're either in film form or someone's taped them, or they're in a college production. Watch a few minutes of it. I'm not saying you have to watch it all, because I know your time is valuable. Read some bios on it. I don't mean just go to Wikipedia and put their name in there. I mean, look at some other avenues for biography. Google biography and read a couple to kind of get to know them, who they are, not just where they're born, what college they went to, or when they died. That's okay. That's just what I call thumbnail biography. That stuff isn't very deep. And I want you guys to go deeper on the analysis. So you read about somebody like August Wilson, who wrote these 10 plays, folks. In 10 years, he wrote, it took him his lifetime to write these plays, and he wrote a play about each 10 years, decade of the 20th century, starting with 1900 to 1910, 1920, you get it. And he died of cancer, but he had finished his last play, but it hadn't been produced yet on Broadway. And it was essentially the Black American, African American experience in America. And they've made a couple of his I mentioned this on another lecture. Denzel Washington did a great movie called Fences, which August won the Pulitzer Prize for, and he's won Tony Awards. And this is an African-American writer who mostly lived in Seattle. And he wrote about his hometown of, I'm going to draw a blank now, I think it's Pittsburgh. I think most of that's where his plays are set. Anyway, but you don't have to be African American to appreciate these. These are universal truths, folks. And so that's what you look at when you look at his work. Look at the universal truth, how we all relate to it. No matter what color you are, no matter how old you are, no matter what sex you are, or what sex you want to be. It's universal truths. And that's the beautiful thing about literature and painters and filmmakers and the rest. They're trying to look for universal truth that you all relate to, that they speak to us somehow as an audience. Maybe you've tried to do something. Maybe uh, maybe you've painted something. Maybe you're a sculptor. Maybe you'd like to try that. Maybe you have some form of expression. You want to do a graphic novel. You want to do Japanese animation. You have a desire to express something within. Well, that's what these folks were doing. And so I want you guys to get kind of at the root of their desire. It's not easy. You know, I give you 5 days to write these things. I don't expect you to be experts on them, but you're going to learn something about the human condition. Like I got some comments on the Martin Luther paper. I never heard of Martin Luther. I learned a lot. Good. You're not supposed to know all this stuff. That's what college is all about. It's to learning new things. You're not supposed to know anything about Shakespeare, although it would help. Some people never heard of Hamlet. That's a little, because Hamlet's his most famous play, and they made so many movies of it. And you know, everybody from Kenneth Branagh to Mel Gibson played Hamlet. They've made one time they made in the '60s. They made a swinging Hamlet. He was like a rock star because he is a rock star. Every actor worth his salt wants to play Hamlet. Every actress worth her salt wants to play Ophelia. These are iconic human roles that you should know about. And I was trying to get out and that having you look at that video of Hamlet. I know it's a tough go. No sets. There's speaking in what you call, some people call monotone, but really is naturalistic. They're trying to make the language naturalistic. And that's so flowery that you don't understand it. That's a beautiful thing about Peter Brook is he tries to make it very understandable. But because there's not a lot of riding around with swords and bombs going off, people have a hard time concentrating on it. That's the point also, is learn to look, learn to listen deeply. And that's what this class is all about, is learning to look and listen and to read deeper on the material. And I'll keep at this, look at announcements. I'll keep coming up with new ideas to tell you guys to help you on your way. Another thing I wanted to cover today was, sorry about the Zoom bust. I don't know why. It wasn't accepting the number to get in, and so we couldn't do the Zoom. I'm going to keep trying. Zoom is, I think, so far with me, it's kind of overrated. A lot of people are using it, but a lot of people are having trouble with it because there's maybe too much traffic. I'm not sure. So we'll try it again at a later date. I'm going to sign an assignment tomorrow, not today, so look for that. It'll probably be on a painter of this era from chapter 23, like Rembrandt or somebody. So you'll have to research it. There's great documentaries. There's all sorts of stuff and I'll be looking for that for you, and I'll post it all. Don't worry. But it'll be via YouTube. I'm afraid that's what we have to do now. Here's the other thing. Because of the pandemic, when we're not in class together, usually I show this stuff. I bring it to you. I can't do that right now. So I've got to guide you to where it is, and you have to watch it on your own. This is a really do-it-yourself class right now, and we're improvising. I can't hold your hand that much. Some people text me all a lot, and I'm doing my best to hold your hand, trying to keep your anxiety at bay the best I can. But this is a new world, and it's not going to be any different anytime soon, because all my classes, this class included my film class, is all online for the fall. So we're going to be in this world for at least 2020, as far as I can see, at Shasta College, and maybe other colleges too. Most of them have all gone online. Stanford, Harvard, everything. So you aren't alone in your frustration. I'm frustrated too. Also, the only nice thing is I don't have to dress up or look good. Well, you're seeing me now, but I'm just saying I don't have to show up in class looking too, I'm a casual type of person. Anyway, so I posted a sample journal. Look at announcements. I posted a sample journal from this class from I think last semester from a student. I blocked their name out. So look at that. That's what your journal should look like. Now, that journal looked a little different because that was from a class that was 17 weeks long, and so this is condensed. So I could cover, in a way, I could cover more material during 17 weeks. And so you'll see some things there that we're not covering here. It's in the book, but we're kind of moving through this in 6 weeks. And so I'm covering as much as we can in the 6 weeks without overwhelming you with reading and writing assignments. I try to make it so there's 1 or 2 assignments, the discussion, and a paper a week, and that's about as good as we could do. There may be a test at the very end of the 6 weeks. We'll see what happens, see how it goes. So I printed a sample journal. Check that out. What else? That's it, really. Read chapter 23. I will post stuff on that era of history that we're going to look at this week. Painters. We're going to concentrate on painters who are painting our story. And if you've ever gone, hopefully you guys travel one day. Hopefully we could travel again. I just read today in the New York Times where some countries don't want they're opening up to travel, but they don't want Americans coming because of the pandemic is so crazy over here. There's more cases here than anywhere else. And they're saying, Americans stay home until you got your pandemic handled. And I, for one, am chomping at the bit to get to Greece. Can't do it yet because they don't want us there. But if you're from South Korea or somewhere else in Europe, you're okay because they're handling the pandemic in a more manageable way than we've managed here. So guess what, folks? We're being locked out of the world at large out there, which I'm not happy about. So anyway, go to a museum, especially, there's a great museums in San Francisco, the Modern Art Museum, sorry, I'm mumbling, in San Francisco. If you haven't been to that, it's right downtown San Francisco. I don't think it's open right now because of the pandemic. It will be soon. You can do a virtual tour. All these museums are doing virtual tours. There's the Dean Young Museum out in Golden Gate Park, huge. I don't like the building. It looks like a spaceship from a Star Wars sequel. Maybe you've been there. Do you like it? I don't know. It's pretty uninviting, but they've had some great exhibits there. That's only 4 hours from where you are right now. There's some great museums up in Portland, so you don't have to go out of the country. My point is, if you guys ever get a chance to get out there in the world, travel in Europe, Asia, South America, Africa, please do. And look at the culture. Don't just go to restaurants and say, oh, the food was good. Look deeper at the story because the story is our story. And so if you ever get to London, all the museums are free, folks, because the government doesn't pay for it. Our government doesn't do that. You go to the Modern Art Museum in New York, it's $50-$60 to get in. Or go to Paris, go to the Louvre. You need to experience it. And you need to walk in those halls where this incredible art is and these people from our past, our history, were painting our stories. You go to the Prado in Spain and you'll see Picasso's work. And you maybe have heard of Picasso, maybe you think you know what it is, you have no clue. until you actually see the work on the wall. Yes, you can read about it in books, and I've got a couple here I'll suggest to you because Pablo is probably one of the most famous artists of all time. Complicated, tremendously gifted man. Complicated. He would probably be sued many times now for sexual harassment because he got a lot of young girls to pose for him nude, folks. That's what old horny artists do. And the new Me Too world wouldn't put up with it, but they did, and this is what we have now. In the meantime, then there's great artists who weren't great in their time. Somebody like Vincent van Gogh. Go to Holland, folks. Go to Amsterdam. Go to the Van Gogh Museum. It will blow your mind. He painted only for a decade. He started painting late, in his late 20s. And he painted for exactly 10 years, and then he committed suicide because he had a lot of issues. He was probably bipolar and schizophrenic, but they didn't have treatment for it in those days. Write about him. Maybe I'll ask you guys to write about him. And there's some great documentaries about it and some great films on him. It's all on YouTube, folks. He sold one painting in his lifetime, and he sold it to his brother. So he made no money, and he was out painting every day. And now his paintings are priceless, essentially. He was not appreciated in this time. He was considered an outcast and a mental case. He was in and out of, yes, they had mental institutions. You know, he just lived in the 19th century. He's not that long ago. It's not such an old past that there was primitive times. They had psychiatry. They had mental institutions. It was primitive, folks. Mostly they just separated them from normal society. Why are these why tortured artists? You've probably heard it a million times. You know why they're tortured? Why was Kurt Cobain or Jim Morrison? If you don't know who those people are, look them up. Why were they tortured? Why did they kill? They're more attuned to the sensitivities and the brutality of love, unrequited love, how to earn a living, how to make a living, and they didn't make it. It's a rough world out there, folks. You got to be really tough to get any satisfaction, or you just numb yourself with drugs and booze. I don't do that, folks, because I have outlets. I make films, I write novels, write plays, and play in a punk rock band. Look up punk rock if you don't know what I'm talking about. What else? Okay, that's it for right now. Look at announcements. I'll probably be making another one of these probably tomorrow and assign some assignments. And I'm going to keep struggling with that Zoom. Essentially, Zoom, I would like to meet some of you. And so we do the shared Zoom meeting, and I can see you on video, and you can speak up and say howdy. And because as it is right now, I'm just talking to my image. And at this point in time, folks, I'm a little sick of my image. But anyway, so let's keep this class rocking as much as we can. This is third week 3. We're not quite halfway through, but we're getting there. It's hotter than heck in Reading. Hope you guys have a cool place to shelter. Hope you get your Wi-Fi going. Go check some YouTube videos. I got to go look for them myself right now, and I'll be posting those. And just keep looking at Canvas and keep looking at announcements because that's where we live now. And on that note, you know how to get a hold of me because I've already had 5 texts since we've been in this here right now. It's probably all about Zoom. And so I understand, but I'm here for you. We're in this thing together. Don't think you're alone. Everybody's struggling. I'm struggling also. And we're going to get through this thing together. So, wear your mask out in public. Keep washing the hands. It's not over yet, folks. I went out to Trader Joe's the other day, and everybody was masked up. So, Um, I don't want people breathing on my food personally. So anyway, stay safe, stay healthy, and let's keep going forward with humanities to the art that matters.